An icy runway at a major northern airport. The possibility of an entire plane load of passengers crashing into a frozen bay. More near hits than ever before on the runway, and those safe skies are turning more dangerous than ever. What, if anything, is being done about a system that concerns so many people? Our guest is a former airline pilot who roamed the skies for United Airlines for 29 years. Now focusing on aviation safety, Charles "Bud" Bernat joins us today. Bud, thanks so much for being here.
Well, you're more than welcome.
But I'm now going to show to our audience here the front page of the New York Post, which says, "Have a nice fright," is what it shows. An ice fright, if you will. LaGuardia jet in skid and smash miracle. Was this a miracle? And what kind of things could have been at work here? Because we're talking about pilot error, error on the ground, error with the plane itself. This looks like a real mess.
Well, potentially it could have been, and as you well know, you've read about it, LaGuardia has always been on the top 5 list of one of the most hazardous airports in the world, and that's mainly due to buildings around it and runway length. But yes, what you mentioned, all the above could be a contributing factor. Maintenance records, did that airplane particularly have a history of either thrust reverser problems, which helped stop the airplane on the ground, braking problems, or any skid that would not have worked? Pilot credentials, were they well experienced on that MD-88? And who flew the approach? The icy conditions are one of the worst that you can put up with in aviation as far as takeoffs and landings.
Well, we have so many things that are happening here on the ground. We have a lot of things that are happening in the air as well. For instance, pilots are going on Instagram. They're taking some amazing pictures from the cockpit, but quite frankly, a lot of these could be unsafe. Shouldn't the pilots be focusing more on constantly flying the airplane than worried about taking pictures for their social media?
Absolutely. That's totally unacceptable, and they would never do that if they were undergoing an inspection from an FAA inspector or one of their own Czech airline people sitting in the cockpit.
Is that just it, Bud? Is that where the system is falling down? Maybe not only the FAA, but the airlines themselves are lax, not only in the maintenance records, but in staying up with the pilots and making sure that they are towing the line and doing their job?
I think the maturity of most pilots is far beyond and should be congratulated. Those type of conditions, airspeed could have been a big thing. They have an approach speed called the target speed. If the airplane was way too fast, and if he landed long on the runway and not in the first third of the runway, in those type of weather conditions, that could have all contributed to the aircraft skidding. And why did it veer one direction or the other? Was it due to faulty brakes or thrust reversers?
We've got so much that we still have to look at here. I've got very short time. I want you to hear this. There was another airplane incident in Southern California yesterday. Here's the distress call between that plane and the air traffic controller at Santa Monica Airport.
53178, engine failure, immediate return.
Ryan 178, runway 21, clear to land.
Let's go to 3.
Ryan 178, runway 3, clear to land.
That's the Harrison Ford distress call here. A small plane and Harrison Ford apparently critically injured. Isn't there a big concern with so many planes in the air, Bud, that air traffic control, they did a good job there, but that's something else that people need to be concerned about?
Oh, it certainly is. And be able to visually see other airplanes in the area. Yes, he didn't have enough of altitude to make it back to the airport with that engine problem. And that's just unfortunate. Once again, you got to look at maintenance records of that aircraft.
It always seems, for one way or another, that the different air pilots and the different people that I talk to, they always come back to maintenance records, and they always come back to the pilots making sure that they are trained properly. As you mentioned, most of the professional pilots who fly passenger aircraft, very well trained, but every now and then you have accidents like this, and it always brings air safety into question. But unfortunately, we are all out of time. I want to thank you very much for giving us your expertise. I'll look forward to doing it again.
I look forward to. Have a great day.
Thank you very much, Bud. All right, coming up next, a very serious issue, and this has to do with history, not just the history of us, but the history of the planet. I mean, the destruction of priceless artifacts and what the loss means to world history. And again, right at the forefront of doing damage, ISIS. That and more when we continue.